Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the daily market outlook for the futures markets, where we take a look at our big six markets and we formulate an attack method, a plan for tomorrow's trading as best we can with what the market has given us. Now, before we start jumping into all the charts and all that fun stuff, we have an addition of the soybeans on here instead of the NASDAQ. I found that the NASDAQ and the S&P was so similar in terms of movement and analysis that it really didn't make much of a difference either way. So going into a slightly different sector, I love the agriculture markets, so we'll be adding the soybeans on there. Outside of that, though, let's jump on in and make sure to swing on over to slingshotfutures.com. You can scroll down and click on the join the daily outlook newsletter, and that's going to add you to our email list so that you know every single time one of these comes out. And along with that, we talk about different statistics and different stocks that we're keeping an eye on as well, so a great newsletter to be a part of. And along with all of that, at the bottom of the page in the blog post section, we have our daily market psychology videos, which we talk about one specific market and the psychology behind those moves, again, so we can better ourselves for the next day of trading. And then we also have our morning prep levels for all of our level traders posted every morning for the US session. Now, if you haven't yet, make sure to sign up for a one-day trial. You can click on Live Trade Room subscription and trial information. You can get a one-day trial to the Live Trade Room, and you can also sign up with a subscription basis to the trial for a subscription to the Live Trade Room, rather. And along with that, as always, the VIP membership comes with the Live Trade Room, all bundled together along with all of our video course material and all that fun stuff. Now, looking at the bund, we have an overall downward move working its way lower, and the big objective that we really had here was the bund filling the weekend gap. We had a big weekend gap higher. Now, for the bund, it is a European market, so this is really just another gap that happens to take place on the weekend. But a lot of times those weekend gaps are quite a bit stronger than your standard gap. Now, that weekend gap was filled at around 11:30, 12 o'clock or so this morning, and since then, we really haven't gone anywhere, and that really kind of goes to show you that even though this is the European market and we are going into the afternoon session into closing time for them, the fact that they filled that weekend gap and then just died in terms of volume really kind of goes to show you what their objective was. Now, the overall movement we had, obviously bearish, nice spike to start the week off, but then gave it all back. They tried holding that area of support underneath. They get a little pop, ended up being nothing more than a trap and a breakdown. So what we're looking for is to sell. We want to go with the sellers, but I would love to see a quick little snap back into that support area, 160.47 down to 160.44. And if we can get that to line up with the top of this channel here, we could have a kill zone for a nice little area to short it right back down to a new low. We are really close to the low. They may not let that happen. And if that is the case, likely, given the amount of weakness that we've seen since this hit, we're probably going to find buyers scale in underneath the low instead. But I would love to be a seller on a little trap high, perfect storm area at the high of the channel and the area of resistance for another leg back down again. Over on gold, relatively decent movement today. Another weekend gap. This one is still open. We have a weekend gap all the way down at 1243.3, and that is still unfilled. Big rally to the upside to kick the week off. Went into a little bit of a range-bound move going into Monday morning. Tried to get it popped higher and went range bound again. Another quick pop higher and they gave up. So it just appears as though the buyers got their 3-push wedge top and they gave up the ghost. And, well, I mean, you can see that bearish follow through. Pretty strong area of bullishness considering that it held the market in terms of the range here. They came back, tested it, and now they broke through. And guess what? Support turns into resistance. So we're looking to sell this area for a move back down to a new possible low. The one thing in the way is rising support off of these two most recent lows, so I would prefer to see them come into it, get the contact off of it, break down, and then turn lower. But if they do give you an option to sell a little bit higher, you may be able to get a nice price. Overall, though, the sellers still have an objective to the downside at 1251.6, and that is going to still be on the table until it's filled or we start breaking up to the upside. So sellers, yeah, they still have a little bit of gas left in the tank. It's just a matter of whether or not they want to show up to the party one last time to get it done. The lows look pretty exhausted, right? Huge slam down, reversed right back up. Big slam down, reversed right back up. I would expect to see about the same thing. Big slam down, finish the objective, and then probably pop right back up. So you could have a twofold type of opportunity with not only selling, but also buying the bounce down here, knowing that we're probably going to start cycling into a range. Over on the bonds, relatively nice little possible flag forming here. Open weekend gap still. They came one tick away from filling that weekend gap, and that's going to be down at 150, what is that, 26? Yeah, 150.26, the decimals versus the apostrophes. Gotta love it. Good old NinjaTrader there. So a little bit of a pullback here, nice little weekend gap, and it kind of looks like a flag, right? We can see the lows coming into play quite nicely. The highs have yet to test, and really the big thing that I'm looking for is, do we find an area of resistance kind of in the middle that would confirm whether or not this channel is accurate or not? Because we can't really solidify it off of the highs, we haven't tested it, and we found it off of the lows. What else can we use to add a little emphasis to this? And we can see it holds here, holds inside here, even gapped over top of it right there. Resistance, resistance. Okay, we have a couple extra points of confirmation, and it's showing that this is probably going to be the correct channel to use, at least for now. So as long as we're staying up here, we have a big bull spike higher, and we're looking at this area at around 151.11 or so as a big area of support to bounce the market back up. But we are stuck between these two areas, so be careful trying to buy and hang on for too long, because it might just get stuck at that top at 151.20 and cycle right back down. In all honesty, what I would really like to see is a quick dip down, get a trap on the lows, get sellers suckered into the move, and then slam it right back up to a new high once again. It may not make it all the way back to the high given the amount of weakness, double top with a one tick lower high. So because of that, this falling area of resistance is a key target area if you are going to be looking to buy low, to look to take profit around there. If we're looking to sell high, if it does end up trapping the high of that small little range, back down to the low we go, and that should be the objective there. On crude oil, nice bullish rally at the end of the day here. For the most part, though, they didn't really stop or let up on the gas pedal to the downside. Big bearish momentum lower, heavy amount of selling pressure down, nice bear channel working its way lower, and we got a little bit of a range, got nasty from about 2 o'clock all the way until around 8 when it started breaking out, and that breakout ended the final leg lower, and it reversed all the way back up. So with that huge reversal back higher again, we're breaking above that intermediary swing. All of this chop and slop that the sellers were selling into, we've now broken above that, and the buyers are trying to get it going back up. If that is the case, this area of support between 47.56 down to 47.50 should not break down, and if it does, it should be quick and snap right back higher, and I'm looking to buy on that move. So overall, looking to buy, but I don't want to buy this close. We have resistance going across the highs at 47.82. I really don't want to fight against that. I would rather wait for a pullback and see what other options it can give us. Arguably, you could also put an area of support and resistance across the top here, which looks pretty good as well, 47.76. So we're getting a little bit of chop and slop inside here, and we are maybe even transitioning into a range. The lows look good for a range. We just don't have the highs confirming yet. So a cycle down would be looking to buy low and push it back up to sell high. And then over on the soybeans. Soybeans overall, nice bearish trend working its way down. Bottom edge of the channel forming a new channel top, creating the channel off of the lows, transposing it to the highs. And we can see they're selling so aggressively, they're not even letting the market get back up to that high before they start trying to push it back down again. Very obvious that we're inside a little bit of a range here, and they're having a hard time even with this range right here. So chances are that we're going to have to kind of deal with this range in the middle, but the bears own the market. It's hard to say otherwise given the overall trend continuing to the downside. Major area of resistance between 976.50 down to 976. Support being between 970 and a quarter down to 968 and a quarter. And the better part of that would be below that low if we can get a little head fake to go with that trend to get selling movement down, break through that low, come back, retest it as resistance, and one finalized spike down to finish the job. Either way, the sellers own the market, so we need to be looking to sell, but we are also at the lows of this range, and I would rather not be selling right this second. I would much rather wait for a correction up, see if we can get a trap above the highs, that perfect storm type scenario here, and then look for a sell back down to finish off the move to a new low. And then on the S&P, nice little bullish rally to finish off the day. Big failure between 19 even down to 17 and 3/4, and they just have not looked back. We had a big move down, nice little spike lower, forming a big area of support. But this time when they came back to it, huge failure right after the open and an immediate rocket ship right back up towards the highs. And now we actually even broke above a new high and are looking to continue. We still have a weekend gap that is open at 23.42 and a 3/4, so not too far away to finish that job. And along with that, a possible spike in channel drawn off the lows, transposed it to the highs, and we're seeing a nice area of resistance. So we're looking to be buyers, but understanding that the pullbacks may be a little bit deeper with this spike in channel. So looking to buy pullbacks around that 34 area instead, around the lows. And if we can get a nice little trap below here, it wouldn't necessarily look that bad either. The buyers do still have upside objectives at not only the weekend gap fill, which is a big one, but also at 23.45 half on this breakaway movement to the upside. So lots of things still pointing to the upside, and just waiting for the buyers, who are probably waiting for a better price right now, to jump on in. So waiting for a pullback on the S&P before we can get that rally to the upside. So that's going to do it for the outlook. Tomorrow on the news calendar, we've got some stuff to deal with. At 10 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern time, of course, we have the CB Consumer Confidence. The forecast is 114 versus the previous of 114.8. And then at 10:10 for Canada, weird time that is, but the Bank of Canada Governor Paulas, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Paulas, speaking at 10:10. So that is going to have a relatively large impact. And because it's Canada, it could even have an impact on crude oil. So for you oil traders, tomorrow at 10:10 may be something to keep your eyes on. And then tomorrow afternoon we have 12:50, good old federal chairwoman Yellen speaking, and she can really mix the markets up, so be careful going into the afternoon session tomorrow. So, like always, make a plan, trade the plan, follow those rules, and you will be A-okay. Until tomorrow, we will see you all then.